first translation, there are something like 343 places where lust occurs, okay? Michael Wallstein is sitting there and going back to everyone who looks at a woman, I'm sorry, the CEI, much closer here to the Greek, has whoever looks at a woman to desire her. See, now, that can be good or it cannot be good, you see? So it gives you some leeway there. It's not simply lust means an objective thing, okay? But if you look at a woman to desire her in the right way, that's one thing. If you look at her with desire that is the wrong thing, that is lustfully, that's a different matter. So what he's done is he's gone through and changed everything so that it makes more sense in terms of English. Okay. Now let's go to, how are we doing? Okay. Literary genre, intended audience, and authority. Now the big question here is whether this is a catechesis or not. This is 14 and 15. Now that's the big question. Whether, I mean, that's Michael Wallstein's question. Is this a catechesis or not? See, if it is a catechesis, then what? Then you and I have to take it seriously. But it's not pronounced as a catechesis. So there are people out there who say, nah, I don't think this is a catechesis. Michael Wallstein gives two examples of that. Charles Curran. Now Charles Curran, Father Charles Curran, back way back when in 1968, was one of the main dissenters of Humanae Vitae. He taught at the time, if memory serves.
Is he still considered Father Curran?
I don't know if he's still priest. I think he is, but I'm not sure about that. All right. But anyway, he taught at Catholic U. And at the time that Humanae Vitae came out, July of 1968, he was there. He led the dissent. And I believe he was the first signer, if I'm not mistaken, of the one-page ad in the New York Times dissenting from Humanae Vitae a week after the Humanae Vitae was promulgated. A whole list of theologians, including William May at that time. William May signed that and then recanted a few years later and then wrote to all his students that he had been wrong. Okay? Yes, he apologized, Bill May. I don't mean Bill May of the Catholics for the Common Good. I mean Bill May back at Catholic U, yeah, who was the moral theologian. So, Dilsaver is, where is he? Dilsaver, by the way, Curran just says, okay, basically, these Wednesday audience talks are really not that important. I mean, the Pope gets up and he talks about his favorite saint and on and on and on. So no big deal, all right? So, and not only that, but all the stuff that he said in those Wednesday audience talks was so abstruse that hardly anybody got it. Therefore, how could it be a catechesis? So that's his argument. Dilsaver is really saying, now he comes from a different point of view. He's got a doctorate in clinical psychology. He's written a book on rediscovering the fatherhood in the American family. Okay, so his point is that he believes that the Wednesday audience talks are simply an extension, if you will, of Love and Responsibility, which was simply theology from Pharaoh Wojtyla. So these Wednesday audience talks are simply a continuation of that theology. So it's just a theology.
Since it was discussed before his elevation to the papacy, therefore it cannot be magisterial.
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, the fact that it's theology, and it's not catechesis. Michael Wallstein says, no, he gives all kinds of reasons why that this is a catechesis. Now, I happen to agree with Michael Wallstein. I believe it's a catechesis, and I believe it takes us to a new place. And that's why that's what we're doing here. If this was just theology, I certainly wouldn't be here wasting your time. That's for sure. If I believe that, right? Even so, even if it
John-
were just
John,
theology, it would
can
still
you
be
take
helpful.
just a brief moment and distinguish theology from catechesis?
Theology, let me give you an example of speculative theology. Let's say, oh gosh, what can I think of?
Hans Kuhn.
I can't think of a good example there.
How about the Eva Stein piece that we read? There was some parts in there that she proposed.
Oh, yeah, as, you mean, she speculated?
Yes.
Yeah, and she speculated as a philosopher, not really as a theologian, but it's the same kind of thing, all right? Yes.
Wouldn't you say that theology is a study of God, whereas catechesis is an instruction book for the laity or for everybody in the church?
Yeah, the theology has more of a highfalutin kind of thing, so that if you study theology, some of it could be, some of it doesn't need necessarily to filter down to the people sitting in the pew, okay? I know a lot of philosophy, I've read a lot of philosophy and theology where I'm sitting there saying, what in the world does this have to do with anything, right? But, yes.
Well, as a humble RCIA instructor, we considered catechesis as, when he said, the teaching of the laity, and also teaching of people, those who are encouraged to come into the church and to be baptized, the adults. And we actually teach portions of theology of the body to the married couples and people that are interested. And it's catechesis for them.
Yes.
Whereas we only get into theology when there are certain questions that we can't answer, and we bring the deacon or the father in to speak about, as you say, something maybe deeper that we cannot, that we are not able, or us lay people are not able to explain. And it's something, it's a higher study, I guess you could say. But catechesis is something that we should all engage in and try to grasp and learn from.
Would you say that the Nicene Creed is catechetic?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's also theological, isn't it?
Yes.
It's also philosophical, is it not?
Yes.
It's also historical, is it not? Okay, all of those three above there, but there's something about it that has to do with the truth as it's coming from me to you or from
Right.
you to me. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Yes,
The truth
Father.
always teaches.
I usually try to explain that catechesis is the communication, the handing over of the revelation as salvation history. So it regards our salvation. It's the knowledge of God as received in revelation, and while theology is the human effort of organizing all these things and giving reasons or theories, and while catechesis is for the salvation of the person. So it's the kerygma, is the communication of the kerygma that we have received.
So indeed, yes.
So in the beginning of the catechism, you get fide depositum, positive faith.
Yeah.
JB2 refers to the catechism as a sure norm. So that if we guide ourselves by that catechesis,
Yep.
then we are assured of living the faith in accord with Christ's teaching.
Yes.
Whereas theology at times can become a speculative reach to try and dig deeper into that teaching,
Yes.
but may not yet have arrived at that status of a sure norm.
It is not yet necessarily in the language that we would use in order to catechize the person in front of us, or catechize ourselves. When you say catechesis, you're now in it. I mean, this is serious business, is it not?